What's going on, everybody? This is Steve from Bloom Audio. We're gonna do something a little bit different today. Now, I don't know how many of you out there are like me, where I grew up on that sort of transition from analog to digital music. A lot of my formative memories listening to music were with records on a turntable that my dad had bought some of his old record collection. He stuck around a lot of classic folk albums from the 60s, Peter, Paul and Mary, and of course a lot of like educational records and that sort of things too. As I got older, my first music purchases I got for myself were on tape. Albums like Weezer's Blue Album or Bush 16 Stone. And as I got older, things largely transitioned to CDs. I finally got a car with a CD player. I built a pretty massive CD collection, only for that to sort of phase out in favor of iTunes, digital music, and eventually streaming services. Now, whether your experience is like me, where you've got some nostalgia for the vinyl, but have largely lived in the digital world, or maybe you've only lived in the digital world and you're curious about analog audio, vinyl, turntables, and all of that. What I've got here is a turntable and a Phono Stage. Got a Project debut Carbon Evo and an iFi ZEN Phono 3. We're gonna set them up, and hopefully by the time I'm done with this video, I'll be able to enjoy some classic records in high fidelity. Gonna get things rolling with a bit of an unboxing here. Got a Project debut Carbon Evo in bright red. In the box we have RCA cable with the ground wire, an anti-skating weight, other tools for connection, belts that we're gonna need for setup, and a setup guide for the table. We have the turntable lid here and the turntable itself. Check this out. Went with bright red. Power supply, counterweight, and the platter. Now, when you're setting up your own turntable, some of the setup is going to depend on the specific model you got. This is tied off. There's additional tape applied to the cartridge here to keep that in place and calibrated during shipping. Now, if you noticed earlier, there were two belts included. The round belt is for 78 RPM playback, while the flatter belt is for 33 or 45 RPM playback, which is going to be the vast majority of records, unless you're more of a specialist collector. So we're going to attach the belt here. So for the belt, you're going to want to make sure you have it in the right place. So the 33/45 belt goes in this groove. So you want to make sure you have it in that right, correct groove. And then make sure you don't have anything impeding the belt or any twists or anything like that, to ensure the best operation. Next thing I'm going to do is attach the platter. That goes on over that, and on top of the platter, you're going to have the mat. So the platter is generally going to be a solid, weighty material like metal, but you want the mat in order to protect the record from being scratched and to hold it in place so that the action is smooth with the record on top of it. I'm just going to show you from the instructions because it's hard to get a shot on this. When you're starting up the record player, you can go either 35 or 45/78 if you have the 78 band on there. So you'll want to make sure you have it oriented correctly. So another important piece of this whole process is making sure that everything is level. So I've got a level app here on my phone. Just gonna make a couple small adjustments. I'm gonna get this totally perfectly level here. So I'm just barely off level. So I'm adjusting the feet here to try to get the feet twist to allow you. And it looks like we're gonna hit perfect 0 there. Oh, obviously it's going to be nearly impossible to get it totally level all the time. also need to adjust the front to back leveling. So the next thing we're going to do is set and adjust the counterweight. So I'm going to turn this so we can get a better angle on that for you guys. This has a protective cover on there, so I want to remove that first. Then set this to the down position. That controls this piece here, raising it up or down. Okay, so you can see the weight is way too far back. It's making this slide way up. Now if I put it all the way forward, guess what happens? Now it just slumps down. Now it's usable like this, but it could damage your records and you're not going to get accurate playback. So we want this to float just a little bit. And that's looking pretty good to me. There's obviously going to be some fine-tune adjustments that happen, but you'll want to make sure that's lifting it off and that when it's all the way down, the tone arm is still floating. It's not resting all the way down. And then we also need to attach the anti-skate weight, which they've provided. Loops through here, and it'll hang just a little bit like that. Once we're done with all that, we can move on to some stuff that should be a little more familiar for the digital crowd. Plugging things in. Gonna connect power. Should note this cable that is included with this one is directional. It's important for the ground that you have everything going in the right direction. At least I assume it is, that's what they tell me. So, left and right. Unscrew this a little bit. Connect the ground wire. Screw it back in. I'm going to send the other end to the input on the Phono Stage here. Once the ground's connected, we've got everything ready to go on both pieces. And it should just be a matter of turning it on and playing some music. I should note on a ZEN Phono here, there's several options. The Project Debut Carbon Evo is equipped with a moving magnet cartridge, so I just leave this on the MM setting, and we should be good to go. We'll plug them into a set of powered speakers we got here and see how it goes. For our first run here, we've got a classic album for you. So we'll start up the turntable. Make sure we put it on the right setting. And drop the needle for that familiar crackle. And enjoy some music.